On the 7th of October, on the evening while I was held in prison in Kabul, the war started. And it certainly concentrates your mind when you're being bombed by your own country. If we have a look at the events after 9/11, I think what we have to understand, first of all, is that 9/11 was not the beginning of something. It was a continuation of something. And I just wish that the American people had been allowed time to grieve properly over 9/11 instead of being used as political pawns and whipped up by the Bush administration, who seized upon 9/11 as a great opportunity to target countries that they had planned in their foreign policies. And of course, Afghanistan was number one on the list. More than 50 cruise missiles dropped in Kabul that night, and you can hear a cruise missile from about 20 miles away. These were coming within a quarter of a mile of the prison, and that experience alone propelled me headlong into the anti-war movement when I emerged from my prison cell in Afghanistan and was released on humanitarian grounds. I was held in Afghanistan for 10 days, and they were 10 life-changing days for me on many different levels. While I was detained by the Taliban, who were described by President George W. Bush and our own Prime Minister Tony Blair as the most brutal, evil regime in the world, I really did not expect to get out alive.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
The other event, major event that the captivity triggered in my life was my journey to Islam, which started out as an academic exercise. I told my captors, if you release me, I will read the Quran, I will study Islam. In truth, I would have promised them anything. I would have promised to have learnt Swahili or Mandarin, just get the hell out of here, please. And in the end, they did release me against all the odds. They kept their word, and so I kept mine. I started reading the Quran and studying Islam. And on one level, as a journalist, I thought I really ought to do this anyway, because how can I cover the Middle East and Asia and not know anything about this faith, which is more of a way of life than a religion. Well, that rapidly turned into a spiritual journey, and 30 months later, to everyone's shock and awe, I embraced Islam and became a Muslim. What is interesting, many of my Western friends thought that my conversion must have been prompted by a Muslim man. Are you going out with a Muslim man? Is it because you want to get married to a Muslim man? And I said, no, I've done this for me. When I embraced Islam, my mother's first reaction was to start going to church again. And I said, well, that's great. At least you're getting some spirituality back into your life. And I said, you know, Mother, you are that close to being a Muslim. You know, Christianity is a great springboard to Islam, and you don't have that far to go. And she said, oh, I don't want to get involved in a newfangled Arab religion. And I said, well, where do you think Jesus comes from? Nottingham? I am not in the business of trying to convert people to Islam. I don't see myself as Islam's answer to Billy Graham. But what I do feel as though it's my responsibility to do is to try and rip away the veil of bigotry and prejudice from other people's eyes. That is a veil I once wore. I know it's there. I know that some people are looking at me now in a different light than if I had not been a Muslim. But please, look beyond the veil. Try and find out what's underneath the veil. My head is covered, but my mind is not.